We kindly implore you to write it down for the Q&A segment.
Without further ado, please allow us the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker for today, Mr. Brogard Cipriani, the CEO of Higher Planner. Please refer to him as Mr. Fabien when referring to our respected speaker. He will be imparting the insight today of how to build a career in Japan.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Mr. Fabien. We wish the sincerest of welcome to you. Mr. Fabien, we kindly request you to start sharing your materials.
Hi, everyone. Let me just start by sharing my screen. Here we go. Okay. Can everybody see my screen? You can just give me a thumbs up. Yep. Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Fabien Brogard Cipriani. I'm the founder and CEO of HigherPlanner.com. And although I'm still recovering from COVID today, so I'm not 100%, but I'm very excited to be here with you all. Before I introduce myself, I would like to first start by thanking the IOCC team for putting this event together. I think it's a great initiative. I try to put a few slides together for you guys, and I hope that whether you're foreigner or Japanese nationals, I hope you will find the material interesting. Okay. So first of all, a quick introduction. So I'm from France. I was born in France, raised in Africa, in Cameroon. I spent 16 years in Cameroon, so that's Central Africa. And I came to Japan about 20 years ago. I stopped counting now. So otherwise I just feel a bit old. My expertise and line of work is really specialized in the recruiting sector, HR, technology, employer branding, and job search experience. So I know all of you are studying right now and will be starting your career. So I hope that I can share some valuable experience with you all. Just to give you an idea about my background, really, and when I came to Japan, because we're going to talk about career. So I thought it would be nice for you guys to know a little bit when I came to Japan. My first trip to Japan was in the summer of '98. So it was an amazing experience discovering such a unique culture and unique country, very different than Africa, very different than France. And it was also a very amazing time because that's the only time we were hosting the World Cup in my country. I actually missed it because I was in Japan. So I was watching all the football games at like 3 or 4 in the morning. And yeah, we just won it, but I have not seen a single game. So that was kind of something that really stays with you. So that was, yeah, I was 20 years old at the time. I came on a tourist visa. I was just there for 3 months. I had a couple of interviews set up that from companies that I applied for from France. And I was very lucky. I got an opportunity to work with a Japanese company that was looking for foreigners to develop their international relations at the time. So I was very lucky, spoke no Japanese, I had no visa. So yeah, so I feel really fortunate about having this company give me a shot. And this kind of was the beginning and opened many doors afterwards. So yeah, so my first company was a Japanese mobile tech kind of startup. And then after I shifted, I stayed in the tech, but I was more on the publication side, like a magazine. And I really started working in the recruiting sector. So I've never been a headhunter, but I worked in sales for a job board called Career Cross, which is still around today. I developed my sales and communication skills during that time. I was there for about 6 years. And after that, I was recruited by one of my clients, Apple, where I managed the recruiting division for both Japan and Korea. So I was responsible for the recruiting of those 2 regions. I was also responsible for launching HR recruiting softwares, and improving hiring process, etc. And I did the same thing at Tesla Motors for a little while, until about a little over 5 years ago, I decided to become an entrepreneur. I was very passionate about building a software for recruiters, so for people like me, something that was really designed to make our life easier as recruiters, but also to improve the job seekers' experience. So that's just to give you some background. So I switched. So I was first in sales in a startup, then went into HR for a large organization, and decided to create my business and become an entrepreneur afterwards. So that's kind of my journey, all this in about 20 years. So now my company, we are a software company. We're like software, cloud-based software company. We provide 3 types of solutions. We provide job site. So we help the companies to advertise their jobs. And also we help job seekers to access innovative and creative companies. We also do provide HR automations, and we organize online job fairs, so online career events. And the next event that we're going to be organizing, so this one is focused on Japanese bilinguals, and that will be taking place on April 13th on Wednesday. So you have the website if you're looking for more information on the companies. Please feel free to visit and register. We'd love to see you there. So that's really a very quick introduction about what I do. So today, I think the agenda was really to learn a little bit about how to build a career in Japan. And this is something that I could be talking for many, many hours, but today we've got a little bit less than 1 hour, so I'll try to be as concise as possible. So before I start talking about the opportunities in Japan, I would like to start with the challenges, right? Just to make sure that we address the main challenges that especially foreigners will have working and building a good career in Japan. So because it's not easy, especially at the beginning, right? So the first thing is obviously Japanese. This is really for foreigners. You don't need Japanese for all the jobs, right? But the reality is, if you can speak Japanese and English, you will have a lot more doors open to you. You will have a lot more opportunities, and again, this gives you choice to really decide how you want your career to go in which direction, right? So really biggest thing is really just keep learning and keep improving your Japanese. Try to aim for N1 if you can. N2 is good enough, but N1 is really going to help you put yourself in an advantageous position to get attractive jobs and to just give you more choice further down the road. Also study Japanese as much as you can when you're studying, because as soon as you start working, it becomes incredibly hard to find the time to continue to develop your Japanese communication skills. And if you're a Japanese national, focus your time and effort on learning and improving your English for the same reason, but the other way around. This will open doors to you. And also know that if you're bilingual, you will have possibilities of having faster promotion inside an organization, because you will be able to communicate with the local office, but also sometimes the headquarters overseas, right? And being able to do this will provide you with more opportunities to grow within the organization a lot faster than people that don't speak multi-language. So this is actually a graph mostly for foreigners in Japan. So it's just so that you realize the importance of having N1 and N2 level. So this is the kind of Japanese level that companies expect from foreign candidates, right? So you can see here, the majority, it's about 74% of companies are looking for people fluent in business level Japanese, right? So N2 and N1. Okay. Now, the language is not everything. It's very important to not forget the culture itself, right? We don't talk about just multilingual. You should think multicultural. It's equally important. Japanese culture is beautiful, but very unique on so many levels. It's a culture of harmony and group. It's not necessarily. It's very different than other countries. So it can take some time to be patient. You have to be patient to really understand it. You have to be curious and try to understand it so that it will be easier to accept once you really understand why things are done a certain way here, right? You have to keep an open mind and spend as much time as possible with Japanese people, communities, embrace their culture, show that you're curious, show your desire to learn, and also show your humility. It's very important in Japan, and people appreciate that. They will want to help you, and sometimes your desire to understand the Japanese culture will help Japanese people to kind of forgive you if your Japanese is not perfect, right? Because you have this attitude of really trying to do the right thing. So again, really Japanese culture. And if you're obviously, if you're a Japanese person, it's the same way, the same logic goes, if you work for an international company, right? It's just really, again, try to understand the other side, to try to communicate in the best possible way. And then also the third challenge is really constantly think about acquiring and developing your skills every day and in every job that you do, right? So after you graduate, don't think that you don't need to learn anything anymore, right? Because it will start from the day you start working. You have to really think that your ability to build new skills constantly will contribute to make you more relevant in the market, right? So because things are just going really fast right now, you have to constantly learn new things. Think about your career. Think about your career almost as if it was like a house that you're building, that you're trying to build, right? To build your house, you're going to need to acquire some tools. You're going to need to acquire some skills, some experience over time, right? So think about it just like that, right? You will need a lot of different tools and a lot of different expertise. So you need to learn and build your portfolio of skills constantly to make sure that you can reach your goal at the end. So again, let's just for 1 second, let's be careful as well with this last part I just mentioned. Building skills is important, but building experience is equally important, okay? So sometimes you're going to work for companies where you will have a hard time, you will have pressure, or you will have some other type of challenges. So remember, sometimes you may think, oh, it's difficult, or I'm not learning as much as I would like. But remember, you learn and you grow actually so much more from those challenging experiences, right? So you have some people, sometimes they think, oh, it's tough, it's challenging, so they run away and they go to another adventure or another opportunity. Remember to ask yourself, you want to switch because you want to learn, because you can learn something else somewhere else, or you're actually running away from a difficult situation where you can really learn from it, right? Again, the tough times really are the situation sometimes where you learn the most. So keep that in mind as well. So you can change jobs in the future, but ask yourself, have I learned, have I achieved everything that I could, before you actually decide to go somewhere else. Okay, so those are all the challenges, right? So remember language, culture, and also constantly build your technical skills and your experience. Now let's take a look at the recruiting market in Japan. So I'm going to show you some challenges, but those are not challenges for you. So that's the good news. Those are challenges for companies, okay? So the recruiting market in Japan is looking very challenging right now for the next few years, but that's challenging for the organizations that are recruiting. Okay, so as you can see on this page, you've got an aging population, and you don't have so many young people actually reaching the workplace. So that means every single year, Japan is losing about 500,000 people in the workplace, right? So that's 500,000 people less, roughly, every single year. That is, the market size is reduced every single year, which makes it more and more challenging for companies to find talent to grow their business. So what's the challenges for the companies? We've got a few. First is obviously the shrinking talent market, finding leadership as well. Sometimes it's a little bit different because it's difficult in Japan to find leaders, just again because maybe we've got this culture of followers, right? This culture of team. So finding a leader who's willing to take risk can sometimes take time, more so in Japan. And obviously finding bilingual is becoming quite challenging. I'm not sure if the numbers I have are the most up to date, to be honest, but the latest figures I have is about 3.5% of people in Japan are Japanese bilinguals. So obviously that's not very high. That's half of Korea. Korea is about 7%. And you can imagine as well that with the COVID situation, the border situation, it doesn't really help for people to travel and learn their languages, build their language skill more easily. So again, yeah, keep in mind, those are challenges for the companies, okay? So those are actually opportunities for you. So the good news is, of course, more and more companies are realizing that there's a crucial need for internationalization and hiring more foreigners in the workplace. So Japanese companies now agree almost 60% that hiring more foreigners with technical skills will have a positive impact on the economy. Obviously, those numbers were trending upward before COVID. So I don't have the numbers really. I'm expecting we'll have a downturn during COVID, but it will be going back up afterwards. Okay. So that's just to set the tone, right, of the market situation. So now what I would like to do is share with you a couple of tips, a couple of personal tips and recommendations. First one is, if you already know what you want to do in your career, if you have an idea, I would recommend you to write down your list of career goals, right? It's kind of like your approach should be going backwards. Imagine like a race. If you want to plan for a marathon, or if you want to plan for a triathlon race, you will think about your goal and you need to have a kind of a strategy to get to that goal, right? So you just go backwards. Here, it's kind of the same. If you want to do a career in a particular field, just make a list of all the skills that you think you need to actually get there, right? You need experience. And here, I use the analogy of a video game here, where you can see on the photo here, this character needs to have certain type of tools to actually reach that bridge, which is right there, right? So he's not going to be able to get there immediately. He will need a rope. He will need various skills that he needs to acquire during the game, right? So here it's the same thing. Just make a list of all the things that you think you need, and make sure that whatever job you do, make sure that you build those skills along the way. And again, don't stress too much about getting it right the first time, right? So you have time, and you will learn. Whatever you do early in your career, you will learn and you will acquire skills, right? So, and if you realize that you've joined a company that doesn't bring that to you, you can always make a change, right? So don't stress too much about your first job and really put a lot of pressure on yourself. You don't need that. So let me see. And again, it goes for the people that don't really know yet what you want to do. If you're like me, at 20 something years old, I had no idea what I wanted to do. But don't worry, because anyway, the probability of what you're going to do when you're 20 something and the probability of you doing the same thing when you're in your 40s or after is very slim, right? So it's a journey. So again, just try many different things until you figure out really what you're passionate about, right? But just don't stress yourself too much. If you're doing something that you don't necessarily like, that's great, because you figured this out really early in your career. One recommendation is, again, try to work as much as possible with people with ethics and integrity, right? And try to work for some jobs also that contribute to society, so that at least you can be proud of your work, right? Maybe that's not what you want to do in the future, but at least there's this good feeling that you work for something good, or for some good leaders, some good people. I think that's very important. Okay, another thing that's really important, and I'm saying this to everyone who may be a bit shy, but you have to keep in mind that you need to build your network. You need to build your connections. Your business connections will shape your career and your success, right? It's unavoidable. So if you surround yourself with successful, executive and business leaders, influencers, you have more chances, of course, to be successful in your career, to have more opportunities, right? Comparing to others that may not do that. So try to invest into your connections. Go to networking parties, go to events, spend a little bit of money to go to those unique opportunities, to meet smart people, to meet smart clients, take care of your clients or support your managers, because guess what? Next time they're going to step up, their career step, they'll pull you with them, right? And you will learn from them as well. So it's really about, give to those connections as much as you can, because it will come back. So support them, give them whatever you can, whatever support you can, because one day they will return the favor, right? So go to events, socialize, be personal, and develop your emotional intelligence. It's very important. Everybody thinks technology is everything, AI is everything, but you know what? I think emotional intelligence is so more important than ever now because of all those technological advancement. If you are able to master emotional intelligence and empathy, you can be very successful in the future. But of course, be genuine, right? So yeah, and I'm the perfect example for this. I took good care of my customers, and guess what? One of them hired me, and that's how I got my opportunity working for Apple, right? Just because they knew that I was serious and I had a passion for good work, and I had this integrity as well. Also, never burn bridges, right? I'll share with you a personal story where I was a salesperson before at Carrier Cross, and I was trying to sell. I was young, I was 20 something, and I was trying to sell our solutions to a head of HR in a big bank that I'm not going to mention. And this person was really rude to me, really, really not taking me, really looking down on me, and very rude. And I never forgot this guy. And I thought that was really unprofessional and unfortunate, but, I never forgot him. And 5 years later, I was managing the recruiting at Apple, and I was looking for a senior role And guess what? Guess who showed up for an interview with me? That was the same person. Obviously, I was very professional, and I had a conversation with him. But obviously, you can imagine that my first impression was not good because of past experience, right? Because again, on how you treat people, about how you just have to be good and fair and with everyone, despite their level in the organization, right? So I would say, yeah, don't make the same mistakes that this person made. Just treat everybody the same way. It doesn't matter their level in the organization, because things turn around sometimes, very often actually. Okay, obviously we talked about bring technical expertise, right? So here is very important. Always try to develop your skills. It doesn't have to be in just one side of things. You can bring programming skill, design skill, creative skills, experience. It's really up to what you're passionate about, and don't worry if your skills are very niche. Actually, if you're really specific into a niche market, this could actually be very good and increase your value as an individual. But again, remember bringing technical skills, but we should actually also say constantly develop your technical skills, right? Just don't sit on it. We talked about this already. Don't be just bilingual, be bicultural, right? And it's not just for language. Think about it as well. When you join an organization, every company has a different culture, right? So when you join, many of you might be super motivated to actually make an impact. But you have to remember, be careful, because you may come across as too aggressive initially. So especially when we're foreigners, right? I know I've made that mistake. You come and you're super hungry and you want to bring value, and you're just too aggressive initially. It's very important to take your time to understand the organization's culture, the team, who does what, and show that you are interested in really understanding before you even bring value. So just keep that in mind. One thing I've learned at Apple that is not on this slide is how to influence leaders, how to influence and inspire people. We've got 3 criteria. The first one is logic, right? Whatever you say needs to be logical, right? When you make your case, A plus B equals C, it needs to be logical. So that's first one. Second one is credibility. You need to have credibility, and that's something that you guys, I'm sorry to say, but you guys don't have any credibility when you join, right? So you have to keep that in mind. Sometimes you feel like you want your shot, you want your chance quickly. You have to be patient. You need to earn in military terms, you say you have to earn your stripes, right? You have to earn that credibility from the people around you. And don't worry, your opportunities will come, but sometimes just remember credibility. Do I have the credibility to actually say what I think? So pace yourself. And the last one is empathy. By the way, not necessarily in that order, but empathy is really important in the sense that you need to show that you understand, that you want to understand the person you're working with, to feel their pain. If they have a challenge, if they have some issues or anything like this, really show that empathy to the people you're working with. That will be directly connected to the credibility and to the logic. Next time you want to sell them something, sell them an idea, they know that you care about them, so therefore they'll be a better listener when they're ready to listen. So yeah, just remember, whenever you want to influence someone, it's credibility, empathy, and logic. Those are very useful things I've learned when I was at Apple. And I wish I learned it on my first year at Apple, but I learned it closer to the end, which was unfortunate. Okay. And now also another thing as well is this is especially true in Japan, right? Think and also for foreigners. As I mentioned, Japan is very much a culture of team. And where, it's not a culture of me, I centric. It's really a country where you have to use the word we. It's all about collaboration, about building partnership. Japanese customers or Japanese companies are very loyal, but it needs to be like mutually beneficial, right? So always when you talk, when you think about your business, your career, always think about it as, we, in terms of it's beneficial for them, almost for them before it's beneficial for you. That would be really one recommendation I have. So build long-term relationships. Think long-term. Never focus on the short-term gains, especially if you want to stay in Japan for a long time, right? So as I mentioned on my slide, put your needs second, right? By focusing on all your business partners, your colleagues, your clients, by focusing on them first, you don't know, but you're setting yourself for a great reputation and for success further down the road. So those are really just a few tips. I know I wanted to make sure that we have as much time as possible for questions. So I just want to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a few slides with you. I'm really looking forward to answer and discuss with you and make this as interactive as possible.
We are humbled and inspired today by your wealth of knowledge, Mr. Fabien. We look forward to seeing you in our next academic session on March 27th. We are opening the floor now for a Q&A session. Participants, please do not waste this opportunity. I mean, it's not every day that you get to ask a CEO of a recognized company questions. So please go ahead.
Don't be shy. And if any one of you have questions or if they wish to contact me, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, Porty, please go ahead.
Oh, hello. I'm Porty. I think one of the worries of people wanting to start a career in Japan is like, especially when you're starting out, it's just like the overwork culture in Japan, right? So personally, that's one of my worries, and I researched about it a little bit, and some people still say that, oh, it's still a thing, but some people still say that, oh, it's slowly fading away. Can you talk more about that?
That's a good question. What can I say? I mean, personally, like for our company, we don't support we don't want people to do too much overtime, right? We really think that you need to take care of your health, and you need to have a break if you want to do a good job, right? So I think it's all about efficient work. This idea of working efficiently versus doing working until really late, because it's just not. I don't think it leads to necessarily a lot of productivity. Again, I would need a little bit more time, I think, to think about this one, especially after COVID. COVID, a lot of people shifted and started working from home. So sometimes, and I'm an entrepreneur, so I don't even look at the number of hours that I'm pulling in a day, right? But if it really depends. If you're working for an entrepreneur, if you're working for a startup, it's not about the hours you pull in. It's really about the work that you deliver, and do you achieve the goals, right? More and more, and I think it would be the mentality, I would say, for for international companies, right? It's just, are you able to get the job done? That's it, right? So it's really what's important. So sometimes you may need to do a little overtime just to make sure that you achieve a certain goal or a certain objective. Yeah, but for the larger organizations, I haven't worked for them for a few years now, so I don't think, yeah, it may have changed.
Thank you.
And I mean, I used to work for Japanese organizations before, but that was many years ago, so I'm not really sure it's still like this, where people were staying in the office late, but not necessarily producing quality work during those hours, right? So it was just because, okay, we want to show the boss that we are staying late and we're gambaru, you know? So again, every companies are different, and it really will depend on your management and leadership. So I think that's something that if that's important for you, I would say ask for those kind of questions during your interview discussion, right? Remember also, an interview is not an interview where the company is evaluating you. It's also you guys have the possibility to evaluate your potential employer, and it's totally fair game for you to ask questions, you know, about what a work day looks like in this company, you know, and how often do you have to do overtime, and what's their policy on this, and you can evaluate, because every company is different. Yeah.
Next we have Yuki Sato. Please ask your question.
Thank you for great sessions. You mentioned don't be just bilingual, be by culture. So this word impressed me. Thank you. I think bilingual can be realized from external something like N1 or N2. But what experience do you have that make you feel bicultural?
Well, you know, well, in Japan, I mean, I think, I always think you have to lead by example as a foreigner. You know, you are in a country that welcomes you, it gives you a good life, and you have opportunities. So the least you can do as a foreigner is really try to respect the rules, respect the culture, just to show respect to the people that work with you, right? And those are not just a language, right? It's just like there's tons of traditions in Japan that are worth studying and that are worth knowing, so that when you engage with other Japanese professionals, they will know and appreciate that you've learned those, right? There's also this kind of a notion of effort, gambaru attitude. If you show your curiosity and your willingness to learn, it goes a long way. Yeah, it's irrelevant to language. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Next, please, Tanvir, please go ahead.
Thank you so much. So first I want to say, like, you look a lot like a famous Hollywood actor named Matt Damon. I just wanted to let you know that. Yeah, and my question is that, except for not like focusing on learning Japanese properly, some of the common mistake that international students make early on to the career, can you tell us a bit about that?
Sorry, can you repeat that? Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, like international students tend to make some like common mistakes. For example, some of the students don't don't take on learning Japanese properly. So apart from that, are there any other common mistakes that students make in your eyes?
I think they don't make enough mistakes. So I think one thing that I've learned becoming an entrepreneur. So before I was an entrepreneur, I was always trying to avoid making mistakes. So I was a perfectionist, and I was trying to make everything perfect so that I don't make a mistake. And then I became an entrepreneur in software, and And I realized that if I do that, I never release any work. I never actually just achieve anything because I'm always scared that it's not going to be perfect. But if you think about it as an entrepreneur, especially US has this way of working which works, where you release some work, you get the feedback from everyone, you learn a lot from everyone's opinion, they criticize it maybe, but you fix whatever is not perfect and you move on. So if you think about this, the more mistakes you make, I mean, obviously be careful about not making like really big mistakes, but the thing is, you have to have a state of mind, I think, where you should not sweat the small stuff, right? So if you make a mistake, learn from it, but don't beat yourself up too much, because whatever mistakes you make, you've learned something for sure, right? And it's for people around you. Remember, it's easy to criticize, and usually people who criticize are the ones that don't really do much, right? So if you make mistakes, at least you tried, right? And you've learned from it. So I think, you're saying a lot of students or people that start their career, what kind of mistakes they make. They make tons of different mistakes, but I really think that they don't make enough. And you have to keep in mind that when you're just out of school, you've got a few years where you have the right to make mistakes because you're just starting. And the senior guys, they know that. They know, and they'd rather, as an entrepreneur, I'll tell this to my team all the time. I said, you know what, I'd rather you make a mistake by trying to do something new than by never making a mistake because you don't do anything, right? Or just waiting for things to happen. So I don't know if every managers will think like that, but that's how I feel. Right.
Thank you very much. I also have a follow-up question for that. When you said you started your own business, how was it like starting a new business in another country? And just can you tell us one or two challenges that you really faced early on, and how you overcame it, if you don't mind?
Oh, wow. Well, I think that's the topic of next session, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to do, I think it's not next week, it's the week after next, right? 2027. I'm going to be touching on that very topic, on how, what it takes to start your business, and how you should be ready, and what changes after you start your business, right? So I'll be talking about this. But yeah, there's just a lot of different things that change. You have some new doors that open, and you have the possibility to meet a lot of senior level people. They're curious. All the entrepreneurs value other entrepreneurs because they've got the guts to go for something and try to make it happen. Entrepreneurs try to support you because they've been in your shoes before, so you will get a lot of support from those leaders. And you have also, sometimes you thought some friends were going to help you, but they don't. But that's just many different. I'll share with you more details on the 27 on that. I've got a full presentation about that topic, so yeah.
Please, Candela Medici, please ask your question.
Hello, thank you very much for everything. My question is, if you have a pool of qualified foreign candidates where they all gather the points you are looking for, quite consistently, is there any particular experience, at least for Japan, that if included in the resume would make a person stand out, maybe participating in some sort of particular activities?
Just to make sure I understand the question. So you're saying if I receive 20-something resumes for a particular job, what am I looking for in the resume? What will stand out? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, if they are all alike, they have the points you are looking for, but you need to choose one. What is something that makes a person stand out?
okay, probability of them all being the same is very slim. So I don't think that would, you know, everybody is unique, right, with their experience and their story, right? I mean, first, it depends on the job, right? It depends on the job that they will apply. So, for example, if I'm hiring some salespeople, I will interview them all, and some of the, so it's not going to be just a resume, right? So I really, again, I believe in, some people might not be good with resumes, but at least when you meet with them, you realize that they've got excellent communication skills and they would be fantastic salespeople, right? So I really try to not just turn down too many people just based on resumes, but at least you also have presentation design. You know, if you've got too many spelling mistakes in the resume, or if it looks like it's been done in 5 minutes, there's no effort. There's those kind of things are kind of give you a trait of the personality that the person may have. What I look as well is on the resume, if I can find the keywords from the job description, right? So for example, if I have a job that's in sales, I will check the resume and see if there's any kind of skills that I mentioned on the job description, if I can find those skills on the resume as well, right? So that's a tip that you can use when you apply for a job and you see the job description. You can actually just take a look at some of the expectations that the company has, what kind of, you know, skills, experience, or qualifications is required. And if you have those, you can actually move them and make sure that they are listed on your resume. What else? It's not just your experience, like focus on your resume, try to focus on the achievements. So, you know, some people said, oh, I did this. I did this means, okay, I answered emails, or I did this. Those are just tasks, right? But if you think, you have to focus on the achievement. So it's like, okay, you've done this, but that contributed to this for the organization. So you have to sell yourself. It's not just like listing the tasks that you've done, right? It's just say, okay, this is the value that I offered the company by doing this task. So a lot of people forget to do that. They just write, you know, oh, I answered email, I answered phone calls, I did this, I organized this event. Okay, but so what? You know, you organized this event. Okay, great, this event. So you should say, I organized this event. This was the first event, and we invited 200 people, and we helped to bring this many clients, right? Those are things that personally I will look at.
Please, Roy, go ahead and ask a question.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fabien, for your excellent presentation. Now, I'm going to be sharing an opinion that I got from my friend who's worked in Japan for 6 years. There was one time my friend told me, Roy, Japan is not the place to necessarily build riches. If you were to start a business here, the wealth gap isn't atrocious. If you're generally wealthy and you're generally middle class, you'll be going to the same stores. But Japan is not necessarily the place to, per se, build wealth. You can get safety here, but maybe not wealth. And after doing a bit of research on my own, where I was shocked to find out Japan is ranked, I think, 123rd for their tax system. You know, this country, this culture almost has kind of like a fetish with bureaucracy and paperwork, you know, 14 yearly payments of taxes starting at 30%. That sounds very painful from a startup point of like view. So I would like to ask you, what is your opinion on starting a business in Japan to build wealth? Because, you know, you could argue that for most people, to build a business is to build a sustainable form of wealth, right? So what's your opinion on that? How feasible is that here?
Well, I would say, if you want to build a business to be wealthy, don't. And the reason for this is like, personally, my take is I never wanted to build a business until I became passionate enough about fixing a problem. So it's the other way around. If you just want to be wealthy, you're probably better off working from some large organizations that will give you nice benefits, nice salary, and you grow, you climb up the ladder. That's my personal opinion, right? At the end of the day, yes, of course, when you start your business, you're hoping that you can be successful and wealthy and all that, but you cannot. I really think that the fundamental is really to think about adding value. So if you're passionate about something, if you want to create your business, you need to fix a problem. You need to remove friction somewhere so that people are willing to pay for it, to get that service or to get that software or to get access to your business service, right? And then the more you can offer value, the more people will want to pay for your service, and therefore you have an opportunity to be wealthy later. But this is just a result. The wealth is just a result. So I really think it doesn't matter which country you are in. If you have an idea and if you're passionate about it and you really think it's gonna add value to the society, then you have an opportunity to be successful anywhere, right? But again, don't focus on the wrong thing. If you just focus on the money, you're starting a business, and being an entrepreneur is not necessarily the right way to go, because percentage of successful entrepreneur there's a higher percentage of entrepreneurs that fail than the other way around. Let's put it this way. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think you did very well. It's an honor to talk to you today. And it's evident that, of course, you have a degree of success, but we don't really see, let's say, the hundreds of other people that, let's say, weren't so successful striving for, let's say, the CEO position, right? We only kind of see the victors, not really the hundreds of people that didn't make it, right? So I think that's also what kind of blinds us sometimes.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't consider myself a successful entrepreneur yet. We only 5 years old. We're still a startup. There's so much things that we want to achieve. We survived COVID, which was great. But again, I don't know if any entrepreneur really feels successful at any one stage, because we constantly have new ideas, and it's just a journey of constantly, okay, what can we do to offer more value to our clients? What can we do? I think you need that. And it took me many years to find this idea. So even when I was in my 20s, I wanted to start my business, but I never really had a clear idea about what I wanted to do. And I was probably thinking like you at the time. I was like, I want to be wealthy. I want to have a lot of money and all that. But at the end of the day, if you just don't have a clear idea and if you're not passionate about it, people will feel it, and people will not want to buy from you because they don't feel this passion. It's like those influencers on Instagram, or all like those successful leaders. They are influential because you feel their passion and you feel like they mean what they say. And that's really essential when you start your business. Like, you need to really love what you do and believe in what you do.
Understand. Thank you very much, Mr. Fabien. It's like a product is never sold, it's bought, something along those lines. Thank you very much for your valuable insights and time.
You're welcome. You're most welcome.
We now have a question from Aditi. Please go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Fabien, thank you so much for the amazing presentation. It was really informative. And for my question, I was just really curious about the job hunting process in Japan, because I've heard that Japan is a country of traditions. And one such tradition while job hunting is, what I've heard is that you have to handwrite your resume for each company that you apply to. So I just wanted to ask, is it still prevalent right now in Japan in companies? And will companies still take this trend forward of us handwriting our resumes?
So I'm not sure with the traditional companies, to be honest. I know that yes, traditional companies will ask you for an handwritten resumes, but I also know that a lot of global firms don't. A lot of international firms will not require this. I think if I was you, I would check the job description and read carefully what they're requesting you to do. So it's all about, I think, as long as you have a mindset where you're doing it. Again, think about it. I explained about entrepreneurship, right? And building something to remove friction. Here, it's the same thing. When you apply for a job, you want to make it easy for people to get back to you. You want to make it easy to give them the content that's going to get their attention, right? So it's not about you. It's about the company you're applying for, right? So you have to really put yourself in their shoes. What is important for them? Okay, they're looking for those skills. I'm going to put it on my resume because I have those skills, of course, right? If you don't have those skills, don't write it down, obviously. But like you have to think like that. And then if they say we require, this type of resume, the Excel and, and all the handwritten one, then you have to do it. But if they don't, then I guess you can just do the English one and the Japanese one. And write on your Japanese one is, if you need a handwriting resume, please let me know. And it's available upon request. But chances are, if you apply for a traditional Japanese company, you probably will need to prepare it. So be ready for it.
Okay, thank you so much for answering that question. Thank you so much.
No problem. Keep in mind, every company is going to have their own process, right? So.
Okay, do we have any other questions? If not, then that's all for the Q&A for now. Mr. Fabien, we understand that you have a busy schedule and we hope to hear more from you for the next academic session. Thank you once again for teaching us today.
You're very welcome. Thank you for the good crowd and all the questions. I really appreciate it. It was fun to spend some time with you, and I hope it was helpful. And if you have more questions, please don't hesitate to contact me on LinkedIn. I'm sure you can easily find me in there. Okay.
Thank you everyone for your attention.
All right.
We hope that you learned a lot. Should you feel that our academic sessions could use improvements, please fill out this feedback form if you feel inclined to. We wish you a fantastic day, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.